Okay, let's go. So let's get started. Welcome, everybody. This is Lead Talks by Gun Owners Radio. And what I decided what I wanted to do is I wanted to, every Monday night, feature a new firearms instructor who lives in San Diego or Riverside or San Bernardino or Orange County, because we have so many really good firearms instructors. There's so many opportunities to train. So I wanted to show people some of the opportunities to get educated, take a good class. I wanted to share with people who maybe are already training, an introduction to some of the other trainers so that you can train with other trainers. But mostly, I wanted some interesting information to come across. So, Bill Desy from CCW USA is our very first, our inaugural lead talks. And basically, I wanted people to talk, I wanted instructors to talk about a particular subject or something of particular interest or something that had an impact or something that's particularly interesting to them. So, without further ado, what I'm going to do, Bill, is I'm going to turn it over to you. Give you about 20, 25, up to 30 minutes to talk. And then if we have any questions at the end, we'll do some questions. But pretty much the floor is yours, my friend.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so I think what I had talked about is like concealed carry, personal protection, kind of finding your why and how. I think it's more important. I mean, obviously, some people get the permit because they can, or they go, "Hey, I want to exercise my Second Amendment right," or "Hey, I want to do this, I want to do that." Um, for me, it was a little more personal. For getting my concealed carry permit back in the '90s, early '90s, and for training. Two very personal things for me. I've been training in martial arts for many, many years. Started out with judo as a kid, karate, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Krav Maga, a lot of different self defense. I always felt like punching people was fun. I enjoyed it. And getting punched was a challenge to avoid. And then also getting submitted was a challenge to avoid as well, especially by smaller people. So for me, defensive combat, defensive arts, martial arts, it's kind of always been a way of doing things. Back when I was working in loss prevention, I wasn't really a gun guy back then, back in the 80s. I had guns, I shot guns, but I would much rather do some, throw somebody in the air, toss them on the ground, punch them in the face. Just more personal, more fun. But I was in my 20s too. I was a lot more physical at that time. So I think I want to say I kind of enjoyed violence in that regard. After the early '90s, I got stabbed by a shoplifter. I got bit by a couple of shoplifters twice. Got bit, and those three incidents really led me on a path where I'm like, hey, my kung fu is pretty good, but it's not good enough. So I need to do better. And what that led me on was a path of training to protect myself. So it was extremely, I always tell people my motives were very selfish. I did training after I got my concealed carry permit, meaning I became a trainer in 1990 after I got my concealed carry permit. And that was because I really enjoyed the training I did. It was some Mesa police officers that had a training company that trained security officers, executive protection folks, and people that got their concealed carry permit. And back then, there weren't a whole lot of people that got their concealed carry permit. It was like jewelers and business owners and some prosecutors and defense attorneys and people that could really articulate they were at extremely elevated risk. Several people that had been, somebody tried to murder them. They were kidnapped. They were held hostage, things like that. People that were, robbed at their stores or people that were victims of bank robberies. So those were the people that got concealed carry permits back in the late 80s and early 90s. I fit into that category because the district attorney at the time said, hey, your job's really dangerous, working in loss prevention and investigations. You got stabbed. This guy went to prison for 26 years. He's a fourth waiver felon, just got out of prison for armed robbery. It's likely he has gang affiliations. It's likely that your job will put you at greater risk. And then after that, obviously, I got bit a couple times. So the sheriff at the time, John Duffy, issued me a concealed carry permit. With that, I basically said, all right, let me get a gun. Let me figure out how to carry it. And this was like, I'm going to say cowboy old days, not quite the 80s, early 90s. I don't even know if I carried a holster that often. I just took a gun, put it in my pants. And it worked. It was very efficient. I bought a couple of holsters, really cheap, crappy holsters at the time. That was all that was available. Uncle Mike's, if you old guys are familiar with that. Um, and then half the time I didn't use a holster. I just carried the gun. That was not optimal. I did train with the guys from La Mesa PD that owned the company that I worked with, and I practiced shooting. And I think at the time I thought I knew a lot, and really what I knew was a tiny fraction. I mean, literally, I knew 1/100th of what I know today. I'm not saying that means I'm smarter. It means I was way dumber back then. I did not know what I did not know, and it was pretty obvious. So what happened was I had a big learning curve where I was able to learn, grow, experience things, and then I realized, hey, these guys don't know what they're talking about. For combatives, I had the VHS tapes from Tony Blauer back in the early '90s, late '80s. I did defensive training. I practiced with my buddies. We would kind of try everything we could. We'd wrestle. We'd punch each other. We'd do everything we could. We'd use training guns, which at the time were blue guns. We would practice trying to take the guns away from each other, trying to maintain retention of your guns. I knew a lot of police officers at that time working in loss prevention investigations. We trained with a lot of those guys. I learned a lot just through practice, but then I really started seriously training with lots of other instructors. And that's kind of what I encourage people to do. I love when people come train with me. I do have information and knowledge to share with people, but I don't have everything. So I encourage people, hey, train with multiple trainers and find out what works best for you. You're going to find a mesh with certain trainers that you like the way they train, you like the way they deliver material, you like their knowledge base. I did have a pet peeve back then, being a newer trainer, that I'm like, hey, you get a lot of people training people how to shoot guns that have never experienced violence. I've experienced a lot of violence. I'd made hundreds and hundreds of arrests. I'd had physical interactions with homeless people, street criminals, gang members. I had experienced arresting people in a non-permissive environment where they were not cooperative. And I knew what it took to do that, and I knew that it wasn't easy. So for a lot of people to train people in self-defense that have never had to defend themselves, it's kind of tricky. It's like you're telling them what you read in a magazine, you're telling them what somebody else told you. So I was just on a mission and a path to get more training. I trained with LAPD SWAT guys, Scotty Reitz at ITTS. I trained with all the military guys I could find in San Diego. I sought out everyone from competitive shooters to defensive shooters to police officers to civilians. And I just trained with everybody. And this was a time when cross training was not really an issue. It was like you're supposed to pick a trainer and stick with them forever and just be a good Yuki and not disrespect your trainer by training with other people. I'm like, no, that doesn't work for me. I got to train with everybody. So I train with people all over the country. I train with people from other countries. And I really enjoyed the training I did. And I did, again, everything from knife and stick to gun and pretty much any weapon system you could think of. I tried to train with it, with somebody that knew what they were doing. And I always subscribe to the mantra of train with people that are better than you. If you're the best guy at the range, if you're winning all the matches, you're at the wrong place. You need to train with people that are better than you if you want to get better. So that's kind of the path I chose, and I trained with people that were better than me. And then when I did competitive shooting years ago, I would win a lot of matches, but there were still people that were way better than me. So I would train with those guys. As soon as I met somebody, like Bill Go, who was working at Academy, which used to be Blackwater. I had worked with Blackwater with the government contract here in San Diego for training the Navy, so I was familiar with what they did. I knew a lot of guys that worked for them. But Bill was an amazing instructor as well as an amazing shooter. So when I met guys that shot better than me, like Darby Darrow, San Diego SWAT guy, any of the guys that I met over the years that were better than me, I'm like, I want to train with these guys. I want to practice with these guys. I want to work with these guys. I want to watch what they're doing and then try to do that. I don't want to watch somebody that's like, good, but like, okay, good. I want to watch guys that are just really, really good. And then I want to practice what they're doing. So that was my go-to method for training, was find guys that are better than me and then train with them. I did that a lot, whether it was Master Fan with San Diego Muay Thai, whether it was Fabio Santos with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I'd never done before, whether it was the guys from Krav Maga here in San Diego or up in LA. I trained with everybody that I could. I had a kind of a passion for training. Not everybody has that, but I had my why. I'd already figured out my why. It was, I don't want to get stabbed again. I don't want to get bitten again. So I need to figure out, what do I need to do to prevent that from happening? I also had a wife and a young child in the mid 1990s that I'm like, hey, now I'm responsible for other people. I got to protect these people too. So how am I going to do that? And that led me on more training. Tiffany didn't like it, I think. I think she did like it at first. Then I just spent so much time training. I don't know if she liked it. But then to pay for my ammo and to pay for my obsession with training, I had to make some extra money because my two jobs didn't always pay the bills. We managed apartment buildings down in Pacific Beach, and I did investigations for different companies, and I worked as a private investigator. So that paid the bills, but not all the time. So I needed extra money. Ammo was not expensive back then, but I used a lot of it. So that's when I started. I had already been working for a training company. I worked for a training company for about 10 years, all through the 90s. And then in 2003, I started CCW USA. And I had a motivation and a passion to train people, not just how to shoot a gun, but how to protect themselves if they're involved in a violent encounter of some sort. So we talk a lot about de-escalation and situational awareness, how to avoid conflict. A lot of the things I had learned from the guys from the San Diego Police Academy, La Mesa cops that I'd worked with, Scotty Reitz at ITTS, a lot of different trainers. And what it turned out to be was, hey, this is a really good system for concealed carry training, because really, do you want to get involved in a shooting? If you get involved in a shooting, you damn better win. But if you can avoid a shooting, that is a win. So if you can avoid getting involved in a shooting, you have saved yourself a potential criminal prosecution, potential civil litigation, and all the extra bells and whistles that goes along with that. So we really focused a lot on situational awareness and de-escalation, avoidance. I worked with Mark Halkin and Dave Bridgman and the guys at San Diego. I'm going to say San Diego Shooting Center, but it's American Shooting Center on Ruffin Road. So I worked with them for a long time. And when I started my own company, it was really kind of a partnership with a lot of the different companies in San Diego, a lot of different trainers. We had a really good network of trainers. Again, there's only like 10 of us. So I knew all the other trainers in San Diego at the time. I trained with them. They trained with me. We kind of shared best practices, information, how to teach people things, how to get people to learn things and retain them. And then what's the best way to get people to learn defensive shooting? I still do that. I still train with other instructors that I respect and that I feel add value to the community. And I really feel like most people can learn a lot from somebody that knows more than them. But the problem is, if somebody knows a little bit more than you, you're like, oh, this is amazing. This guy knows so much more than me. But that guy or girl might know a little bit more than you, and they're a little bit better shooter, and they have some information that will help you. But they don't have a grasp of real defensive shooting under stressful circumstances, stressful conditions. I can say a lot of the trainers here in town do have that and can offer that. So it's nice that we have a lot of really good quality trainers here in San Diego. I was just talking to my buddy Jack Breckenridge, who I used to train with every Wednesday night at American Shooting Center, and this was just a class that you paid for, and people would just go to it because it was great training, and he provided really good informative lectures. He always had a topic in mind. He always was extremely passionate and animated about the training he did. He's a fantastic trainer. But I really enjoyed the frequency of practice. And this came from another buddy of mine who taught me how to shoot well. Ray Dunkel was a good friend of mine that shot way better than I did. And I'm like, hey, how you doing this? And he's like, oh, hey, it's this: grip, sights, trigger. It was simple fundamentals, but it was like change your grip, make sure your sights are aligned, manipulate your trigger correctly. It's the same things it's always been, but it's how are you going to accomplish those tasks? And that again continued my motivation to train with the knuckleheads and a lot of the other guys. Jack's guys were all knuckleheads. The guys in here in San Diego was their I guess training. They identified as knuckleheads, but it was kind of cool because they're great guys, and you had the frequency of practice. And Ray's the one that told me all the people he knows in San Diego County and LA that shoot, the best shooters have one thing in common, and it was frequency of practice. It wasn't who they trained with. It wasn't a specific secret technique. It was how often are they practicing. And that didn't mean that they were going to the range and practicing all the time. It could be dry fire. It could be practicing drawing the gun from the holster. It could be practicing situational awareness and de-escalation. Something that they were practicing improved. It could be their hand-to-hand combat skills. It could be anything from Aikido to Jiu-Jitsu to any other martial art that elevates your awareness and shows you how to create an injury on another person before they create an injury on you. So frequency of practice became a big thing for me. It was like, hey, if you want to be good at golf, you can't play golf once a year. If you want to get good at shooting, you can't go shooting once a year. You have to practice and train more frequently. And I don't want to say it matters. It doesn't matter who you train with. It does matter. You have to train with people that know what they're doing. You have to train with people that can bring you to your next level. And I've had I have students that shoot way better than I do. They're faster. They're more accurate. They're way better than I am. That is my goal. I don't want to bring people up to my level. I want to bring them up to their potential. And that means if I bring everybody up to the same level I'm at, I have not done my job. I need to bring people up to their potential, to their level. And I can tell you there's people that can shoot really fast. I just shot a match out at Lemon Grove, and there are some phenomenal shooters here in San Diego. You don't even have to leave the county to find fantastic shooters. What it comes down to is, are you willing to invest the time in yourself to commit to some kind of a training regimen? Are you willing to invest once a week, once a month? A lot of the best trainers I know, they're practicing daily. They're training every day. It may not be on the range, but they're doing dry practice. They're drawing from concealment. They're practicing situational awareness. They're doing the things they need to do to get better. If they identify a weakness, hey, my left hand shooting is not that good, they're going to drill that. They're going to train that dry fire. They're going to train it live fire. They're going to get better at it. They're going to improve. My biggest challenge, I would say, has been, how do I impart that motivation to other people? And I get this from a Navy SEAL that I had talked to about it, who I told him, hey, I got this woman, this woman's son is trying to become a Navy SEAL. what do you recommend that they do? Who can I send them to help motivate them? He said, tell them not to apply. And I go, what do you mean tell them not to apply? He goes, if they don't have an internal motivation to do what they need to do, they're not going to make it. And I said, wow, that's kind of a wow, mind blown on that one. They're basically saying if you have to rely on external motivation to do whatever it is you want to do, you're probably not going to do it. It's whatever it is, eat healthy, exercise, be a good person, go to church regularly, whatever it is that you want to do. If you have to rely on other people, you're not going to do it. It has to be from inside of you. The motivation to do the thing that you want to do has to come from inside of you, or you're just not going to do it. It's why the gym memberships go up January 1st, and then they drop off. The fact is, you have to find you don't have to find motivation. You have to find what it is that will motivate you. And I can tell you, for me, it's not getting stabbed, not getting murdered. That's a pretty good motivation. Not getting bitten. Those are all good motivations, especially with the popularity of hepatitis among the community, the criminal community here in San Diego. So I don't want any of those things. So my motivation is I don't want to get injured. I'm getting older. I don't heal as quickly as I used to. There's a lot of motivation there, but it's all internal. External motivation, not really as effective. So you can get some peer pressure from your friends and family members. Your spouse or your kids could say, what are you going to do to protect us if something happens? And you're like, I don't have it figured it out yet. Buying a gun is not going to be the solution. It's part of the solution. Buying a gun is like buying a car. It does not make you a better driver. It's, I think it was Jeff Cooper at Gunsite used to say, having a guitar does not make you a musician. Having a guitar makes you a guitar owner. You want to become a musician? How are you going to do that? You're going to have to practice. You're going to have to learn music, and you're going to have to practice. Same thing with shooting. Same thing with self-defense. Same thing with anything defensive, from your defensive mindset to your situational awareness. You are going to have to invest in yourself some time, some energy, and some effort. And you're going to have to learn the things you need to do and how to do them correctly. And then you're going to have to improve through practice. So training, it's got to become a priority. What that means to you, I mean, I know a lot of people wait till after they get shot. I waited till after I got stabbed. A lot of people wait till after somebody gets murdered in their family or something horrific happens. Other people hear something on the news. They see something on a news article, or they read a story, or a friend of them tell you, like, hey, did you hear about the lady at the really nice mall up in Newport Beach? Got run over by some bad guys and killed. The attempted robbery gone bad. Now you got 3 guys going down for homicide. That's great, except there's a person that had to die for people to figure that out. I think nowadays we're smarter than that. If you look at Active Self-Protection, John Correa's video channel on YouTube, not only does he offer some phenomenal training and some different training options that you can subscribe to, but just the free channel where you can watch some videos of actual violence that occurred. And again, I'm not into gratuitous violence for no reason, but if there's something I can learn by watching a security camera video of something that happened, something that actually happened. This isn't a hypothetical scenario that somebody just made up in a classroom while they're sitting around talking about cool guy stuff that they did in the military or in the police force. So, but actual things that have happened, that's a reality slap in the face. Like, hey, if this could happen to this other person, this could also happen to me. And what am I doing to prepare for it? Have I even thought about it? And I know a lot of folks, and I can totally subscribe to this too. Ignorance is bliss. It is absolutely bliss. If you are ignorant of the level of violence that occurs in this country on a daily basis, if you are ignorant to the level of crime that occurs in San Diego County, if you are ignorant to the fact that 85% of the police calls are domestic violence calls, and that you need to figure out how you're not going to get involved or sucked into any kind of domestic violence with your spouse, your girlfriend, your family member, your child, anybody else. If you haven't figured out a way to not make that personal and make it business, and not get drawn into it, you could become another statistic. And that's what I want my students to avoid. That's what I want all gun owners to avoid, is becoming another statistic, because that doesn't help anybody. I mean, it helps the statistic folks, the mathematicians that are studying statistics and kind of addressing them in whatever way they want that meets their needs, that supports their argument. The problem is, I need to find ways to impart into my students some kind of a passion for defensive training or defensive knowledge gathering. And again, if you're not, you don't like to run a mile, there's a ton of things you can do that don't involve running a mile. If you don't want to go to the range every day because it's expensive or ammo's expensive or you don't have time because you're busy, I will tell you a word of wisdom from one of my trainers, which is you always have time for the things that you put first. Now, I'm not saying that shooting guns and training should be the thing you put first. It should be your family. It should be your faith. It should be the things that are important to you that really drive what you do. It should be maybe your job or your mission, the things that are important to your survival. But if one of those is owning, handling, operating, manipulating, and carrying guns, you damn well better put some time and energy into that. Because if you just go like, I'm just going to carry a gun when it's dangerous, or I got a permit, but I'm probably not going to carry my gun, you're just being lazy. I don't want to offend anybody, but at the same time, I don't care if I do. So don't be lazy. Carry your gun and learn how to carry it and practice with it. And if you're not getting better with the things you're doing now, what's the definition of stupidity? Is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You might have to change up what you're doing. Maybe that means doing a 1 hour, 2 hour private lesson with a well-respected, vetted and trained instructor. Maybe that means doing a 4 hour private lesson or an 8 hour full day class. Whatever it takes, get that training. I do 3, 4 day, 5 day classes with other trainers all the time. I just did a 2 day class with Jeff Gonzalez. Anytime Brian Hill is in town, I will train with Brian Hill, except this week because I'm on vacation and he's in town. But anytime you can train with a high level quality trainer. And this is the other thing is quality trainers doesn't necessarily mean they're the best shooter in the world or they're the most famous MMA fighter in the world. I would much rather train with Michael Jordan's coach than Michael Jordan. Nothing against Michael Jordan, but he's a professional athlete that can do amazing things. But his coach or his coaches can teach you how to do amazing things with your body, with your skill sets and your fundamentals. So a good trainer, a good coach can teach you way more than a professional shooter. And I'll tell you, there's usually been both. There's professional shooters that are phenomenal at shooting, shoot really well. And there's really good coaches. My first instructor trainers were Olympic coaches, Jack and Marlene Duncan, back in the 90s. Phenomenal trainers. Jack would always say, Marlene's a better shooter than me. We're good shooters, but we're not the best. We do well, but we're not the best. But we're really good at teaching. And that was important to me. That led me on a path. I don't look for the best. I don't necessarily want to train. I do want to train with the best fighters, but just because it's fun. But I also want to train with the best coaches. I want to train with their coaches. I want to train with the people that made them who they are today. So how do you do that? How do you find those guys? It's usually going to be word of mouth. Sometimes it's vetting. You can check the standard Google, Yelp, different reviews, see what people say. And then granted, those are great. But I don't know who posted those. I don't know who they are. I would rather take a personal recommendation from an individual that has actually trained with that person. And this is why I kind of have a standard. I won't recommend training with somebody unless I have trained with them personally, because I can tell you this guy's got a great reputation. He seems to know what he's doing. I hear other people like training with them, but unless I have trained with them, I cannot tell you my personal experience training with them. I really can't give you a solid recommendation on that person unless I have personally attended their class and experienced their training on a first person level. So that's kind of what I like to do. So if there's somebody I want to train with, or I'm like, hey, I'd really like to recommend this guy, but I need to train with them. I'll pay my own hard-earned money to take their class and see what they're doing, see how they're doing it, and see if I learned something. And then I'll go, yeah, I recommend this person. Or because I'm not big on bad mouthing people that I don't think are proficient or efficient in their training, I just won't say anything. So that's kind of, I want to be respectful of everybody because everybody is learning. A trainer that is not that good today might be really good tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. So I give everybody credit for where they're at now and where they're going to be in the future. But I give a lot more weight to a friend or family member telling me you should train with this guy or this girl versus, I don't know, I read something on the internet that said this guy's really good or yeah, I don't like this guy. I would go with personal recommendations from people that you respect their opinion because they're probably not going to send you to the wrong people. So that's my recommendation on vetting instructors. Also keep in mind, there's a lot of really good instructors that will bring you up to level whatever it is. They'll bring you up to this level, but they can bring you up to their level, but somebody can't bring you to a higher level than they're currently at. So that's it. I can only bring you up to the level I am currently at. If I get students that are performing so well, I will say, you know what? I need you to go train with this guy or that guy, or you need to train with this guy. You need to go do a competition. You need to watch some of these competitive shooters. You are at a level where you can shoot very proficiently, number one, very safely, but number two, very efficiently. And I'm going to recommend you train with this person. And I'm still going to recommend people train with other people anyway because of the different perspective. You might find something that resonates with you from another trainer that you didn't get from me. You might find something that resonates from 3-4 trainers from now that you're like, man, Bill told me that, but I didn't understand it. Or Bill told me that, and then this other guy told me that, and this woman told me that, and then I heard this from 2 other guys, and then my buddy said this, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And now one person told me one thing, and now I get it. And look at my improvement just jumped from here to way up here. See my hand. It went from here to up here. That's what we want to do. We want to see some growth. If you're not getting better, you're just staying the same, you're stagnating. You want to get better. You want to improve your skill. You want to make your skills better. So that involves training with other people, training with lots of people, and practicing with friends. Find a group of people that you like and train with them, practice with them. Even just go into range with your friends and say, hey, watch me shoot. See if you can notice what I'm doing. I'm pulling the gun. I'm pulling low and to the left. What do you think I'm doing? I can tell you right now. But that costs money. You got to pay for that lesson. You can look it up on the internet too. But if you're hitting high, if you're hitting low, if you're hitting left, if you're hitting right, there's ways to fix that. And it's not secret sauce. It's basic shooting fundamentals. It's grip, 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 sights, and trigger press. And if you can do those things without moving your gun, you're going to be an accurate shooter. How you're going to get there means you're going to have to invest some time in yourself and your training to get there. So you're going to have to make it a priority. If you don't make it a priority, it's not going to happen. If you don't have internal motivation, it's not going to happen. So those are probably, say, the top things I would recommend. What are your thoughts and questions, Mr. Schwartz?
Excellent job, Bill. Thank you so much. And you're, again, CCW USA. People can find you on website. Which website?
ccwusa.com.
Excellent. ccwusa.com. Okay, a couple of questions. Somebody wants to know if you're a beginner, if you're a intermediate, and if you're an expert. What are the three things, what should you be doing? If you're a beginner, what should you be doing? If you're an intermediate, what should you be doing? And if you're an expert, what should you be doing?
So beginners should be learning gun safety and shooting fundamental skills. And again, probably any certified instructor, USCCA certified instructor, uh, any instructor you're going to find out there can teach you gun safety, weapon handling, and shooting fundamentals. And again, gun safety, treat the gun as if it's loaded, point it in a safe direction, finger off the trigger, know your target and what's beyond. And there's more safety rules for the range and other things, but those are the 4 basic safety rules. And people add things in like do this and do that. And, 5th safety rule is don't let the government take your guns. Then there's a lot of other safety rules obviously out there. But you can get a lot of that from a video on YouTube from a respected trainer, which there's hundreds of them out there. Beginning training is really finding the gun that fits your hand, finding out how it fits into your lifestyle, feeling comfortable and confident. Here's a really good tip I'll give everybody for free. And that is, I got this from Lena McCulloch, who is Jerry McCulloch's daughter. She said, I don't want you to be comfortable on the range. I want you to be comfortably uncomfortable. And what that means is you're going to be uncomfortable when you start shooting. I just want you to be comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable. So what does that mean? It means if you're going to go scuba diving, hang gliding, parachuting, or rock climbing, or swim with sharks, or anything dangerous, there's an inherent amount of risk. And myself, how do I get myself to do it if I'm uncomfortable? And a lot of that is, one, find a reputable trainer that you respect, train with that person. They will help you reach your level of comfort that is acceptable to you before you even go on the range, through discussion, through anecdotes, through talking about things, through finding out what in you makes you want to do this, and then finding those whys and those hows that are specific to you. Then being comfortable and uncomfortable means you understand your brain is going to release some chemicals to your body. And those are cortisol, the stress hormone, adrenaline, endorphins, a lot of different things that can make you feel nauseous and uncomfortable. And if you, like, I know a lot of people that tell me, oh, first time I shot with my buddies at the range, it seemed so unsafe. I wasn't comfortable. I felt terrible. I never want to do that again. And I hate guns. That's because they had a bad first experience. So I could say, going to a shooting social with San Diego County gun owners is a great way, a great introduction to how to be safe and feel comfortable, how to build that comfort level. And then you're just building your comfort level. Intermediate shooters need to practice the skills they've already learned. And then advanced shooters need to fine tune the skills they've learned and practiced under various conditions. And that means to become an advanced shooter, you have to practice. I don't want to say you have to do a competition, but you have to put a timer. You have to put some simulated stress on your training. You have to do a force on force, or Artemis, or Sure Shot, your amount of duress that you're not used to. And that's it. To me, that is intermediate and advanced training. I wouldn't put a beginner in that situation because they're probably going to fail. An intermediate shooter is probably going to fail, and an advanced shooter is still going to fail probably about 50% of the time. So, or advanced shooters are still going to have failures. When I do a simulation training, I learn way more, or force on force, I learn way more from the failures than from the successes. I kind of expect this success because I'm like, hey, I've been doing this a long time. When I get a failure, it's like a slap in the face. It goes, hey, you failed. You need to do better. What can you correct? How are you going to fix that? That's going to motivate me to do the things I need to do to improve. And we do learn a lot more through our failures than through our successes. If you just go to the range and shoot the target at 5 yards really slow, you're like, damn, I'm a really good shooter. Look at that. Look at that group. That's not defensive shooting. That's marksmanship. So identifying the other thing is the Dunning-Kruger effect is most people think they're better at the things that they do than they actually are. Whatever it is, whatever, if you're a surfer, if you're a skater, if you're whatever you do, if you're a shooter, you probably think you're better at it than you actually are, and you need to humble yourself by training with people that are better than you to let you go like, wow, I know a lot, but there's a lot more to learn. And that will take the advanced shooter, make them intermediate, the intermediate shooter, make them a beginner, and the beginning shooter going like, man, I really need to learn a lot. So that's a good answer to that three-pronged question.
Good. And that's actually, I think you kind of started to answer the next question that came through when you were talking about Artemis and Sure Shot. They ask, going to the range and dry firing is great, but how does someone practice under high stress situations?
First, you have to get married. Oh, just kidding. All right, that's a joke. Uh, the the truth is, it is, and it's different for different people. So when I used to do IDPA, International Defensive Pistol, I didn't go in there like, I'm going to go play gun games with my friends. It's like shooting pool at the bar. I went in there like, these targets are trying to murder me and I have to survive. So I had the proper mindset that allowed me to make that a testing event of my skills. And I put myself in the proper mindset to, like I could have gone in just all relaxed and chill, like, hey, I'm shooting some paper targets. Look, I hit the paper targets. I went in there thinking, this is life or death. And some of my trainers were like that. Dude, we're shooting for blood. If you don't hit your targets before they hit you, you're dead. So we put a lot of internal pressure on ourselves for that training, and that was really helpful. But how do you know if you're doing that? I trained with the guy. Well, I hate to admit it, but I trained the security guys at Boeing are fantastic. The airplane doors, not so good, but they're having issues now. But I used to train with some of the guys at Boeing, security guys up there. They have a phenomenal training facility with force on force. I trained with the guys at Academy, which is used to be Blackwater. I trained with a lot of different trainers that did force on force, LAPD. Their force on force programs are amazing because their force on force programs were based off of actual LAPD shootings. So they didn't just go like, hey, let's make up a hypothetical scenario. They said, this is an actual shooting. It happened on this day at this time with these amount of officers. And here's what happened. They all got murdered, or they survived, or they did well, or they did poorly. They didn't tell you that till afterwards, after the debrief. So they just said, it was called problem solving tactics. Here's the problem. You need to solve it. Somebody throws a problem at you. You got to solve it. You have no idea what's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to be 2 guys, 3 guys, 5 guys, whatever it is. Tactical Hive does a great job with force on force training. Artemis and Sure Shot have the newest video simulators. I can't remember the guy's name, but a guy traveled around, came over to the Glock store, did some force on force training, phenomenal trainer. Did scenarios where you set them up, and if you don't shoot the person, they shoot you, you just got murdered. So it's a learning curve. Or if you didn't see the gun in their pants, you missed the big cue, which is this person has a gun. So you couldn't take the right steps in the right amount of time. So those kind of learning curves are huge because they do imprint on your brain without actually putting you at risk of actual injury. They put you under simulated stress and they make you problem solve under stress. And really, gunfighting is only problem solving under stress. So if you're not doing that, you're missing a huge component of your self-defense training.
Perfect. And then I just getting a timer, just that little buzzer timer is kind of to me, it seems like the first step to putting a little stress in your.
Yeah, they're inexpensive as a shot timer.
Yeah.
It's low bandwidth, low network bandwidth, unstable network connection.
Oh, really? All right. Well, we're about to wrap it up anyway. Bill, thank you so much. Appreciate everything that you do. Appreciate you taking the time. And I would invite everybody to visit CCW USA and go train with Bill, whether you've trained with him before, or you've never trained with him at all, sign up for a class, and thank Bill for all that he does and learn from him. And thank you so much, Bill. Anything else you want to say?
I was just saying that you can get an app on your phone that's a timer, but the shot timers are very inexpensive now and they work really well. And I have a shot timer. I can time you. So we can always get those analytics and we can measure them. We can measure those metrics and then you can see improvement and you can see measured results that you're getting better. But yeah, always encourage people to come train with me. Check out our website, ccwusa.com. We've got videos on YouTube under Tactical Hive, and we've got some on our website just with information and things that might encourage you or help you find your why and your how, and then implement it. Don't just talk about going to the gym, go to the gym.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill, and thank you everybody for watching. And we'll see you next Monday at 7 o'clock, and we'll probably be on time next week. Now that we got all the bugs worked out, we'll probably be on time next week. So thanks, Bill. Talk to you soon, man.
Last but not least, God bless America and God bless any of your kind of gun owners.
Thanks, man. Take care.